Hello and welcome to the Genuine Learning Blog. My name is Alex Romero from Golasso Learning Solutions. On this week's blog, we'll be looking at the OMB's Memo on Auditing. This Memo 25-30, titled Ensuring Accountability, How We Oversee, Audit, and Improve, was issued in June of 2025. Now, this was sent to the heads of executive departments and the agencies, and it came from the Executive Office of the President and the OMB. And its main focus is looking at federal audits and thinking through some of the different tools that we have to make sure that we are preventing any waste, fraud, or abuse of taxpayer dollars. Within the memo, it talks about how federal audits really need to be providing the public with transparency and accountability for those taxpayer dollars. So all the tax money that comes in, we are wanting to make sure that the federal government is spending it appropriately for the correct programs, and that any findings that come out of the audit, we are looking at those and we are using that information right away to strengthen and improve our internal controls so that we can, in the future, work towards preventing that fraud and waste and abuse. The memo also speaks about forthcoming changes that would be included in an updated Circular A-136. And as such, OMB Circular A-136 financial reporting requirements was updated and issued on July 14th, 2025. Now here I've listed some of those key elements that comes out of that revision, but you would want to go and take a look at the entire updated A-136. So we are going to continue to have financial statements and a full financial statement audit, but the big change here is going to be with the format of the presentation of the financial statements and the audit. So we are going to have single year presentation. So within our financial statements and the audits, it's only going to show the information for that current year under audit. It also states that all the revisions in A-136 are going to be effective upon issuance, so July 14, 2025, unless it's actually specified within the circular that there's a different effective date. So what are the thoughts about what we're going to see with that single year model? Well, within the memo, it talks about those expected results, that we're going to be focusing on what happened in this current year that's under audit, that it's going to allow us to really plan for the future and look at those high-risk programs and those control weaknesses in real time to identify what's going on and make changes so that we can go ahead and see that into the future so that we aren't having those same things come up year after year. So what comes after having the implementation of the single year presentation model? Well, the memo notes a couple of additional ideas here. So the first being auditing the auditor, really looking at, are we getting the value out of the audits that we perceive we need to have? There's a lot of money being spent on federal audits, so are we getting everything out of those that we really are expecting? Also focusing on those high impact audits. So looking at what activities that are done within the audit are going to be doing the best at reducing our risk, showing that accountability, and really bringing that financial integrity up. Then linking the transparency to reform. So when we do have findings, that those are actually going to be leading to changes in those internal controls, in the processing, in the procedures, so that we are eliminating those or at least reducing them and mitigating them from what we saw within the audit. And lastly, here we have addressing improper payments and waste. So what are we going to be doing elsewise if we see something that's happening? What additional steps can we be doing to address that we are not going to be having those improper payments and that we aren't going to be continuing with any wasteful payments that aren't appropriate? So what are our key takeaways from this memo? Well, the memo's real focus is on that federal audit and aiming to prevent any of that fraud, waste, and abuse, ensuring that taxpayer dollars are used appropriately, that we did see that revision to Circular A-136, and you can go and you can look at I-8 within the circular, and that's actually titled Summary of Changes. So it's going to list out all the different changes and updates that you will see within A-136. that we are seeing, due to the revision in A-136, that single year presentation format, and that we're really going to be focusing on that transparency and accountability of the taxpayer dollars to the taxpayers. That's going to do it for this edition of the Genuine Learning Blog. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.